AYANEO devices are usually pretty expensive, but this is the AYANEO Pocket Air, and I think it's probably the least expensive device that they've sold yet. It has a 4.2 60Hz display with a resolution of 1280 by 960. It's LCD, and it's powered by a MediaTek Helio G960T processor, which has an 8-core CPU with 2 Cortex A76 cores and 6 Cortex A55 efficiency cores. The GPU is the Mali G67 MP4. It has active cooling intake on the back with exhaust up on the top, and it comes in 2 SKUs. One that comes with 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of storage, and another with 3 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. That's the one that they sent me. They have 3 different colorways available with Retro White, Aurora Black, and Retro Power. The joysticks are Hall Effect, as are the triggers, and it has a 4500 milliamp hour battery. It does support Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and it ships with Android 11. Let's take a look at the hardware. The first thing that I'm noticing is that they put the D-pad up over top of the joystick, which I think is very good design. The reason is because of this 4.2-inch 4:3 aspect ratio screen. This is the kind of system that I'm much more likely to play retro games that are from the 8 and 16-bit era, like Super NES, NES, Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, those kind of things, and all of those are very D-pad focused systems. Like, they didn't even have joysticks back then. So I love that they put that up on top. Over on the right hand side, we've got our face buttons, which feel a little clicky, but not super clicky. And I would say that the D-pad feels a little bit less clicky than these face buttons. The joysticks, definitely feeling some pretty decent resistance there. There's actually quite a bit of throw because of this big cutout that they have in the system, which I really like that. I still don't see myself really using these all that much, but it's good that they are, recessed that much in order to make sure that they're as low profile as possible to make this as pocketable as possible. They do click. AYANEO always does this. I don't really like that they do this, but they always put the start and select or menu and view buttons down on the bottom left. I very much prefer to have these things separated so that they're not right next to each other, but that's just personal preference. Over here, we've got our ISpace button, which brings up all of the ISpace controls that I'll show you later on in the video. And then looks like we've got another Android button. Let's take a look at the top. We have our full triggers. Looks like they have some pretty decent throw, which is really nice. I probably won't use these all that much because of the form factor here, but it's nice that they're there for everybody that wants them. We've got bumpers on the top, and they feel really good. For those of you that don't know, you also have a button right here and a button right here. And if my experience with AYANEO devices is any indicator, then these are probably just Android buttons. Usually one of them is like the home button, and then the other one will let you switch between apps on the fly. You got your exhaust vent on here because this does have active cooling. If I flip it over, we can see our intake vent on the back, and you can also see that they sent me the one with, let's say 3 gigs of RAM. Yeah, 3 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. Let's take a look at the bottom. We've got our USB-C port, as well as, I think this is probably, it might be a microphone, but I can't tell. It might just be, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a microphone. And then here we have our 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, our micro SD card, and then our downward firing speakers. I kind of wish that they put the speakers like right here instead, or up here instead, so that they would sound better. Because the display is 1280 by 960, which works out to be a 4:3 aspect ratio, games that were originally 4:3 aspect ratio, like the PlayStation, the Nintendo 64, or the Dreamcast, are going to have pixel perfect display without pillar boxing or letterboxing. You will get some slight letterboxing on things like Atari Lynx and Sega Genesis just because of the aspect ratios of those screens, and you'll end up having both pillar and letterboxing on SNES, Game Boy Advanced, as well as Game Boy, unless you turn off integer scaling for those particular systems, in which case you'll just get pillar boxing on Game Game Boy and Super Nintendo, as well as some slight letterboxing on GBA. As far as power, I was able to play 8 and 16-bit systems at 60 frames per second with 4 times resolution scaling, and that was running the Eco preset, which will generally get you about 8 hours of battery life. Moving up to N64 and PlayStation, for these games I was able to run the system in Eco mode, and the battery life was just about the same because I'm using the same exact preset. And I didn't have any problem running these games. Here you can see I'm running Metal Gear at roughly 60 frames per second with no issues. Now on Dreamcast, I was able to get some games to run in Eco mode. For example, this is Power Stone 2, and you can see that I'm running it in Eco mode, but Daytona USA, I ran into problems where I wasn't able to play. It sounded all choppy and rough, and then I put it into balanced mode instead, and it ran just fine. I would say for the most part, PS2 games aren't really playable on this. You're definitely going to find a few that will work, especially if you push the chip all the way up to max, but I'll tell you why you don't want to do that in a minute. But for the most part, you're going to run into issues trying to run that library. If you definitely want to pick up something that can play PS2 games and emulate those and be a small form factor, then I would recommend instead the Conquer Pocket Fit. I think it's just a better device overall, but it's definitely better for PS2 emulation, and it's more comfortable in the hands. I think for a lot of people, when they think of a retro handheld, they're thinking of something that's easily pocketable that they can just throw in their pocket and take with them wherever it is that they want to go. While the Pocket Air Mini is definitely smaller and more pocketable than the Conquer Pocket Fit, it's nowhere near the pocketability of something like the Trim UI Brick or the Miu Mini Plus. I will say that I really do like that this is a 4:3 screen. Most of the games that I like to play on retro systems adapt really well to 4:3 aspect ratios. The buttons feel pretty good and the D-pad feels decent. I will say that I didn't get any accidental diagonals when I was doing the Contra test, and when I tried Hadoukens and Shoryukens, the Hadoukens no problem at all. But when I tried to do Shoryukens, I had a really hard time with this D-pad, and I think that's because it doesn't really favor diagonal inputs very much. There's no cardinal snapping on the joysticks, although my right joystick center is off to the left for some reason. I guess my biggest gripe with this device is it's just not comfortable to hold. I wish the grips were a little bit thicker. I wish that there was more texture right here where my fingers land when I'm trying to actually use this, so that I could hold on to it better. Overall, I think it's a pretty decent device. It's not amazing, and it's also not terrible. And for $99, you're not going to get anything cheaper from AYANEO. Let me know what you guys think of the Pocket Air Mini from AYANEO. Let me know in the comment section down below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. From the NerdNest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, and thanks for watching.